Good Tuesday morning, and thanks for checking out the latest long-range forecast analysis. Michael Clark here with BAMWX.com. We'll take a look here at several things today, including a very important mention of a very cold risk coming here into the 5 to 10 day forecast, talking the potential for frost. The charts, the data today support the risk. Now we just need to watch and see how this will evolve here in the coming days. It's not something I would sleep on. I would certainly take it into consideration. This could be the nail in the coffin for some of these crops in Iowa. I think it could be a big deal. We're going to talk about it. In the 3 to 7 day impactful weather outlook, we do see very warm temperatures in some of these dry spots, topping 90 degrees plus in the 3 to 7 day time frame, and also below normal precipitation overall. Again, the big deal is going to be this cold shot we're going to be targeting going forward. All right. This is a look at the percent of normal precipitation from the High Plains Regional Climate Center over the last 30 days. And I want to focus on this because I think this area here in the 5 to 10 day can be the area most susceptible to getting the coldest, where the soils are the driest. The last time we had a September frost actually takes us back to 2012. This is in no means or any way, shape, or form saying this is like 2012, so please do not take my words and mess them up. That's just the last time this happened. Okay. Overall, what we're seeing here is just a very dry pattern over the last 30 days, and I think we need to keep that in mind with respect to where it can get the coldest going forward. Temperatures the last 30 days have remained above normal for the most part across the northern half of the ag belt and below normal across the southern half. The next 48 hours, we'll talk about precipitation. There has been some rain and thunderstorm activity this morning across Iowa and portions of southeastern Iowa going into Illinois. Okay, some places here could get a half inch of rain, maybe locally heavier amounts, as some more thunderstorm activity is certainly favored. This is just what I like to call a 20-foot view, just a further back view of everybody. This is the flooding. A lot of flash flooding going on down here across the Arklatex regions of the Deep South. And some hit-or-miss showers and thunderstorms will be associated with this frontal passage here, okay? Over the next 7 days, we can see that there are some decent shots of precipitation, but nothing great. It's going to come today, and then again Sunday night into Monday, as we see the reinforcing front come through, a reinforcing shot of cooler air. But overall, again, nothing great, but at least there's at least some chance of rainfall in the area. Portions of the areas that look to stay drier are going to be further back out into the west here over the next 7 days. Heavier rainfall totals down to the south. Okay. Now, looking at this, I want to kind of focus attention on the 500 millibar pattern going forward. This is the European model. What we're seeing here in the short term, again, is the passage of a cold front in the trough running into a little bit of a ridge, so that's why you're getting all the flash flooding down there in the Deep South. There's that little setup, the trough into the ridge setup. Here comes the first trough or front coming through. It's going to make for a nice, cool, fall-like weekend for many folks here across the northern third of the country. And then as we get into day 5, the heights expand a little bit. Temperatures will get warm as the ridge expands in the west. 597, 600 decameter ridge. Very strong ridge here, and some of this heat will bleed east into the central plains where it's been drier, hence our 3 to 7 day hazardous weather outlook showing that potential. And then the big trough starts to take shape, the big cold front, if you will. We're noticing a very large Pacific North American or Pacific Northwest ridge to develop in the eastern Pacific and the northwestern portions of Canada. The further north this ridge can trend and the stronger it can trend, what's going to happen is naturally the trough downstream is going to get stronger. Okay? We're going to see this expansion, this thermal expansion of air and heights nudge out the colder air and send it south. That's what's going to happen. And so the further north it can come, the more momentum this cold air is going to have in order to move further south, if you will. And that's certainly what we're seeing. We're seeing a very interesting indication of a pattern conducive for possible frost, for temperatures at least in the upper 30s if we want to be conservative with it. And that's going to come here in the 6 to 10 day. That big front's going to start to work its way in here Tuesday of next week. All right, so basically 1 week from today, we're going to be looking at a possible very strong cold front to work into the area. Now, we have years where we have similarities to this. I want to show you some early frost years in September. We have 2007, we have 2012, and then we had a 3-day event back in 1995 of September 21, 22, and 23. But our most recent years were September 15th of 07 and September 23rd of 2012. This is what that pattern looked like. A combination of all these is what this is. You can see how far north the 500 millibar ridge is. So if the attempts at some frost fail, it could be because the ridge does not migrate far enough north to dislodge some of that colder air. Regardless, it's a pattern that looks eerily similar. You can see where the area of low pressure is in the North Pacific, where the strong ridge is inching up into Alaska, and the deep trough that responds downstream in the eastern U.S. It's very similar. So it warrants at least a mention for now. Here's what the temperatures looked like in September 15th of 2007. Again, you can see this was a 30 to 35 degree low temperature here across where I'm drawing this contour. This was a frost in September of 07. All right. And then we go and we look at 2012, and 2012 was pretty doggone cold. Not currently thinking it gets this cold. These are just the only 2 years we have since 2000 that got this cold this early. But you can see here that frost line arguably made it well down here and across the northern plains. I think it's more of an 07 comparison, probably makes more sense. But again, the areas that are the driest are the areas I think that could get locally very cold in the 6 to 10 day time frame. So we've come up with a note slide. All models are indicating we have a strong negative EPO to set up, which is essentially this North Pacific ridge. And again, we need to watch this. The amplification of that ridge is going to be a key indicator as to how strong the trough can be downstream and to the east. All right, so some early forecast models in the 9 to 10 day period would be Wednesday morning and Thursday morning for now. But you can see here some indications here at mid 30 degree temperatures. All right, so frosty. Again, not a freeze, but frosty. Mid to upper 30s, a possibility. Okay. Again, in several things here, this would be next Wednesday or Thursday morning. Several things to consider here is that the pattern is supportive of it, as I just got through describing this to you. The recurving typhoon, the SOI index, multiple things going on here that support this. In fact, I want to go real quick. I had a chart actually made that I wanted to share with you all on the SOI that I wanted to pull in, and I forgot to do that. Here's the other supporting factor of this trough, and that's the positive SOI spikes that we've seen. The correlation is for a deep trough to set up shop over the Great Lakes and Northeast. We see 2 spikes. The first one here, which that's going to come close to our period where it can get very cold. And this is going to be really the kind of the actual, some more of the reasoning, if you will, that trough can be amplified. But what's interesting is yet again we've seen another SOI spike that can reinforce the cooler risks here later into week 2. So we have plenty of evidence to support this forecast, and it's one that I think that we need to consider. So here is the week 1 and week 2 temperature departure forecast. One of the colder week 2 maps that we've put out in quite some time, especially for this time of year. 8 to 12 degrees below the average from the 8th to the 14th of September. And again, there's a risk that there can be some frost early in week 2. All right, we have to continue to monitor. I'm not saying take it to the bank, but I'm definitely saying we need to pay attention to this potential. Drastically different from that of 2019 right now. So it's going to feel very fall-like over the next couple of weeks. No doubt about it. Precipitation over the next 2 weeks. We're going to continue to kind of shunt or shove to the south this jet stream into the east. It'll be wet in the northeast, and they're not going to complain about that. But much drier, continuation of drier forecasts in the central plains, even into week 1. We're continuing this drier forecast. It's possible that the roll forward here as we get closer can continue to come in drier for the plains in the Midwest. We may not be aggressive enough on the below normal precip forecast here. So that is something we need to consider. The other contributing factor to the forecast going forward is the MJO and the West Pacific forcing, basically the suggestion at typhoons. That can continue to be a big wrench in the pattern for any advertised warmth. Because as you get a typhoon to develop and they recurve, they interact with that jet stream and it messes up everything. And it pumps up the ridge in the northwest Pacific portions of the U.S. So what's interesting is we have 2 big typhoons ongoing here in the Western Pacific. They've managed to develop where we've had a large area of sinking air over the Western Pacific Ocean. As you can see here, this is observed basically velocity potential. These oranges and these yellows are sinking air, really not an atmosphere you would think would be favorable. Well, watch the blues and the purples as they're inching east. As they get closer to the maritime continent in the Western Pacific Ocean, it's possible that this activity may only uptick. It may only continue. Because you can see even in the 1 to 5, there's some sinking air a little bit over the West Pacific. Watch as you go to the 5 to 10 and the 11 to 15, it's actually kind of inching east. And so my concern is with the warm maritime waters and the upward motion, the West Pacific typhoons could become a regular thing into September. And possibly pose a risk to the warmer October outlook, but that's something for further down the road. The week 3 and 4 outlook features this look here, continued below normal temperature forecast the 15th to the 28th of September. Polar opposite of 2019, okay? So with that being said, if that continues and the jet stream continues to be majorly altered, it's probably going to continue to remain very dry in September as well. But cooler is the outlook for now. We'll certainly continue to monitor this, in the coming days. Right now, our October outlook is warm. We need to watch the West Pacific, though, and there's really no way to tell exactly what that's going to do this far out. But we know it's a risk because it's active. Have a great Tuesday.